So much for joining us, sir. Lego has seen such a huge success, and actually the amount of raw materials that you use is so much bigger. In fact, I think your raw material consumption, mainly plastics, is more than 77,000 tons in 2014. How much raw materials do you plan to use this year?
I can't say, but we are of course optimistic that we are continuing to grow the business this year. It's too early to say, but certainly, we do produce a lot of Lego bricks all the time, and we will continue to do so in the future. We have a vision. By 2030, we want to be based on sustainable materials. So that means material that is, from a source that is much less CO2 emitting. It means a material that has an optimal chemical composition. It means a material where we can understand how to manage it through its life cycle, and also at the end of it, how it should potentially be recycled if it's not kept for future generations. And to cover that across a broad range of materials, we think is something we want to be achieving by 2030.
So why this big investment in sustainability? Is all those Lego pieces, they're not biodegradable?
No, they're not, and I don't think ever we'll be in a position where we would recommend that Lego bricks would sort of disappear over time, because I think actually the durability of the brick and across generations is an important performance of the brick. But Lego bricks are made from oil. It's a manufacturing process producing the plastic granulate that consumes quite a bit of CO2.
Now, I know you've got a toy that's related to that. You've got a video game. How high are your hopes in really making another blockbuster just from Legos in relation to that movie?
I think it's still a little bit too early to say, but of course it's fantastic. The movie has been very well received, and we have some great product on the streets now, and we are sure that they will continue to entice children and excite them to be creative in the coming months ahead.
13. Let's go straight over to Billund in Denmark, Lego's headquarter, and speak to the big boss himself, Jørgen V. Knudstorp. Jørgen, hej, hvordan går det med dig? Continue in Danish, of course. That's how are you, by the way, to our viewers. Listen, let's start with this. Plastic is part of your world. I'm just wondering, what other materials are out there?
Yes, that's really the question that we are trying to investigate, and we started this journey about 3 years ago, and it's quite a challenging journey working with the industry. It's a very complex question, and so we of course want to find bricks that have the same performance as the famous Lego brick, so it clutches very well together and it's absolutely safe for children.
Lego's CEO.
This journey about 3 years ago, and it's quite a challenging journey working with the industry. It's a very complex question, and so we of course want to find bricks that have the same performance as the famous Lego brick, so it clutches very well together and it's absolutely safe for children.
The company says its aim is to produce all its units sustainably by 2030. Earlier, the Lego Group Chief Executive and President Jørgen V. Knudstorp explained how they hope to achieve it.
When we talk about sustainable, we're not talking about biodegradable, i.e. stuff that disappears by itself. We definitely want the durability and longevity of the brick. It has more to do with the manufacture. So as you mentioned today, the manufacture is very much based on oil, and we would like to see other sources such that it's possible to produce plastic in a way that is more sustainable.
Lego aims to produce all of its units sustainably by 2030. Well, earlier, Jørgen V. Knudstorp, he's the big boss of Lego. He's the CEO, he's the president. He explained to me how they hope to achieve this goal.
When we talk about sustainable, we're not talking about biodegradable, i.e. stuff that disappears by itself. We definitely want the durability and longevity of the brick. It has more to do with the manufacture. So as you mentioned today, the manufacture is very much based on oil.
It's just unveiled plans to invest 1 billion Danish kroner, about $150 million, in creating more sustainable production techniques for its model kits. I asked CEO Jørgen V. Knudstorp what was wrong with its current bricks.
We are on a quest to make the company ever more responsible towards the planet, the environment, and also socially responsible. And one of the areas we identified is that it'd be great if someday in the future, by 2030, the manufacturing of the raw material that we use, so not our own manufacturing, but the manufacturing of the raw material, could become even more sustainable. Yes, we're family held. We intend to be here for another 100 years at least. And so to do that, we need to be seen by the community as an asset to the world.
invests to be more environmentally friendly here. We'll take a look at that and speak to the CEO in a moment's time.
Lego bricks are very high quality, of very high safety, and we want to find another kind of plastic that's based on a more sustainable source. So today most of the plastic we use are based on oil, and of course we all know that that leads to quite high CO2 emissions in the manufacturing of the raw material. So this is before it enters our factories. So what we really Lego bricks are very high quality, of very high safety, and we want to find another kind of plastic that's based on a more sustainable source. So today most of the plastic we use are based on oil, and of course we all know that that leads to quite high CO2 emissions in the manufacturing of the raw material. So this is before it enters our factories. So what we really like to see is the development of material that is producing less CO2 and therefore is also more sustainable.
Is it still the case that you're not using recycled materials at present in the manufacture of your bricks?
Jürgen Wigg-Knudstorp is the company's CEO.
We've always been a very responsible company. We've always invested heavily in wind farms to make sure we can be entirely based on renewable sources of energy. We've invested in better materials for our packaging, forest, stewardship council certified and so on. So we are looking constantly to ways to make ourselves more sustainable, and this is another great step on that journey.